Right now, China is executing a flawless masterclass in global monopoly. They control the raw materials, the gigafactories, and the cheap EVs flooding every single continent. To the rest of the world, the verdict is already in. Toyota, the undisputed king of the automotive world, is dead, left behind, a stubborn relic refusing to adapt. But what if Toyota's public humiliation is entirely intentional? What if the world's most conservative car maker hasn't been falling behind, but has spent the last decade luring its competitors into a multi-billion-dollar trap? Behind closed doors, far from the media's eyes, Toyota has been quieting the noise to perfect a technology so radical it doesn't just compete with China, it renders their entire empire obsolete. We are talking about a total physics-defying rewrite of the electric car, 5-minute charging, and a driving range that stretches across continents on a single charge. Is this the ultimate corporate masterstroke of the century, or a desperate lab fantasy used to mask a dying giant? Turn off the noise, because the real war is about to begin.
The hybrid shield, how Toyota bought itself time. To understand where Toyota is going, you have to understand where it came from. Long before anyone was talking about electric vehicles, Toyota was already building electrified cars, hybrids, powered by tough, reliable nickel-metal hydride batteries. That technology became the backbone of the Prius, and later the foundation Toyota leaned on before finally stepping into full electric vehicles with the lithium-ion powered BZ4X. Notice what didn't happen. Toyota never threw everything into mass-producing liquid lithium-ion EVs the way so many of its rivals did. And that wasn't an accident. Liquid battery manufacturing is China's home turf. The raw materials, the refining, the cell assembly, the giant gigafactories, China spent well over a decade building that empire brick by brick until it controlled almost every link in the chain. Charging into that fight head-on China's terms would have meant playing a game China had already won before Toyota even walked onto the field. So Toyota did something else. It kept selling hybrids, millions of them, every single year, generating steady, reliable profit around the world. That hybrid business wasn't Toyota clinging to old technology out of fear or nostalgia. It was a financial shield, a war chest. It bought the company time, cash, and breathing room to research something far bigger, quietly, in the background, while the rest of the industry wasn't paying attention. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about today's liquid batteries. They're heavy, they take too long to charge, they degrade a little more with every single year you own the car, and that liquid electrolyte sloshing around inside them is a genuine fire risk. Think about the battery in your smartphone. No matter how much software engineers optimize it, the phone still slows down over time. The battery still fades. A full charge still eats up an hour of your day. That's not a software problem you can patch away with an update. That's a physics problem, baked directly into the chemistry itself. If you want a real breakthrough, not an incremental one, a real one, you can't just tweak the old material a little at a time. You have to rip it out and replace it completely. That's exactly what Toyota decided to do.
Solid-state batteries, Toyota's ultimate weapon. Here's the core idea, stripped down to its simplest form. A normal lithium-ion battery moves energy through a liquid electrolyte, a chemical soup that lets charged particles move back and forth between the electrodes. Toyota's solid-state battery throws that liquid out entirely and replaces it with a solid electrolyte instead. One material swap, that's the whole revolution, at least on paper. That single change unlocks something engineers call energy density, basically how much power you can pack into the smallest, lightest possible space. And when you win on energy density, you win on almost everything else that matters to a driver. Cars can shed weight, which means sharper cornering, shorter braking distances, and better handling overall. Less weight also means the car doesn't need to burn as much energy just hauling its own battery around, which is part of how you get to a number like 1,100 miles. And because there's no liquid to leak, boil, or catch fire, the battery holds up far better in extreme heat, freezing cold, and everything in between. Picture it this way. A liquid battery is like a plastic cup full of ice cubes and water, sloshing around with every turn, needing a thick, heavy case just to keep it from leaking everywhere. A solid-state battery is like a single solid block of ice, dense, stable, nothing shifting inside it, nothing to spill. That solid block doesn't just resist leaks and heat better, it packs roughly double the energy into the exact same amount of physical space. 5-minute charging, 1,100 miles of range. Suddenly, those numbers aren't marketing fantasy. They're just what naturally happens once you solve the physics problem the entire industry has been stuck on for years. So if the technology is this good, why isn't every Toyota showroom already full of these cars?
Genius move or lab fantasy, the real obstacle. This is where the story gets uncomfortable. Because a battery that works beautifully on a lab bench is not the same as a battery that works in a factory producing millions of cars a year. And solid-state technology is running into 4 brutal walls, one after another, each one harder to climb than the last. First, materials engineering. That solid electrolyte has to survive thousands of charge and discharge cycles without cracking, warping, or breaking down at a microscopic level. Every tiny fracture inside it chips away at performance a little more, and in a lab, engineers can babysit a handful of test cells under perfect, controlled conditions. On a real road, in real weather, with a real driver flooring it out of every red light, nobody's babysitting anything. Second, economics. The raw materials and the manufacturing processes for solid-state cells are still brutally, almost absurdly expensive, and a battery that costs a fortune to build doesn't help anyone actually buy an affordable car. The technology has to get cheaper before it can get anywhere near mainstream. Third, scale. This might be the hardest wall of all. Building a few hundred flawless battery cells inside a research lab is one thing. Talented engineers, careful hands, endless patience. Building millions of them on a moving assembly line with essentially zero room for a single defective batch is an entirely different challenge. It's one that has humbled far bigger, far richer companies than most people realize. And fourth, time itself. Every new battery has to survive years of brutal real-world testing, vibration testing, crash safety testing, extreme heat and extreme cold, and then a maze of different safety certifications in every single country Toyota wants to sell in. None of that can be rushed, no matter how much pressure investors put on the timeline. Think of it like a master watchmaker. One person, working alone in a quiet workshop, can spend months hand-building a single flawless mechanical watch, adjusting every tiny gear by feel. That's the lab. Now ask that same watchmaker to produce 1 million identical watches a year at a price ordinary people can actually afford without a single one falling out of sync. That's not a bigger version of the same job. That's a completely different problem. One that requires rebuilding the entire production system from the ground up. That is exactly where Toyota stands today.
The battle map. Toyota, China, and everyone in between. And Toyota isn't fighting this battle alone in some empty arena with all the time in the world to get it right. Samsung SDI is pushing hard into solid-state technology of its own, aiming squarely at the ultra-luxury segment. And China's own CATL, the company that basically defined the current battery era, the one everyone else has been chasing, isn't standing still either. It's attacking from every angle at once. Sodium-ion batteries for cheap mass-market cars, LFP batteries for the middle of the market, and its own semi-solid-state technology creeping up from below, all moving forward in parallel, all closing the gap. So how does Toyota actually plan to win this race without bankrupting itself trying? Not by flipping a switch overnight and flooding every dealership with solid-state cars on day one.
The real plan looks more like a slow, deliberate, calculated climb. Solid-state batteries won't kill off liquid batteries the moment they launch. In the first phase, Toyota will place this technology in its most premium, highest-margin vehicles, cars where customers are already willing to pay top dollar for cutting-edge range and blistering charging speed, and where that premium helps cover the staggering cost of building brand-new factories from scratch. Meanwhile, the hybrids and the standard liquid battery EVs keep selling in the mainstream market, keeping cash flowing in and keeping Toyota's core business alive and healthy. In other words, the technology trickles down from the top of the lineup instead of flooding the entire market at all once. It's a controlled, patient rollout, not a reckless, all-or-nothing gamble.
The verdict: slow, deliberate, and dangerous. So let's answer the question we started with. Is Toyota bluffing? No, Toyota is not stubborn, and solid-state batteries are not some PR stunt designed to distract everyone from the fact that it fell behind. This is a survival strategy, plain and simple. Toyota knows it lost the opening chapter of the EV war, the chapter written entirely in liquid lithium, on ground that China controlled from the very first page. And there's really only one way for a king to avoid losing the throne for good: break the old rules yourself, on your own terms, before someone else breaks them for you and leaves you with nothing. China controls the present, with battery factories the size of small cities and a supply chain nobody else can currently match. But Japan, armed with thousands of Toyota patents built over years of quiet, patient research while the rest of the world wasn't watching, may be holding the key to what comes next. This leap has a real shot at succeeding. But make no mistake, it won't be quick and it won't be easy. It's going to be a long, grinding war of attrition, fought factory by factory and patent by patent. Toyota is choosing to move slower right now on purpose in exchange for a real shot at being the one company nobody can catch for the next 20 years. And that's the twist worth sitting with. Sometimes the competitor moving the slowest right now is the one you should actually be worried about the most. If this video helped you see Toyota's slow and steady playbook a little differently, do me a favor right now and hit subscribe, because we break down stories exactly like this one every single week. So here's the real question for you. If you were buying a car 5 years from now, which bet would you actually make? Japan's unproven but potentially revolutionary solid-state technology, or China's proven, ruthlessly efficient, already mass-produced liquid battery? Drop your answer in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know which side of this bet you're on, and I have a feeling this comment section is about to get interesting. And if you want to understand exactly how China built its battery empire in the first place, the empire Toyota is racing to leapfrog right now, that story is coming up next. Make sure the bell is on, because this EV battery war is only just getting started.